Good evening, NorCal Carters. This is Jason, and tonight we are live streaming again, and we have a panel of gentlemen from CCKRA, and that stands for Central California Kart Racing Association. So for the past couple of years, they've been on our calendar. They've been on NorCal Carters, and it's always been a fun one for me to say because it's CCKRA. Then you have all these other clubs with abbreviations. But Central California Kart Racing Association, this year they're hitting 4 tracks. They're going to be hitting Santa Maria, they're hitting Fresno, they're hitting Willow Springs, and they're hitting Buttonwillow. So without further ado, I know you guys get tired of me, so let's start with Scott Anderson, president of CCKRA. Scott, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming in. Why don't you give everyone a quick bio on yourself?
So yeah, my name's Scott Anderson. This is my first year as president of CCKRA. I've been a board member for the last couple of years. Got 2 kids that are racing, a 12-year-old daughter, 10-year-old son. Did some racing myself back in the early 2000s at Kerman and Atwater. A little bit of IKF 11 stuff. My dad and my brother have been racing Kerman and my uncle since the 70s. So family's been doing it for a while.
So I have to apologize. I said Anderson, so it's Andrason.
Andrason, yeah, no worries.
Once you said it and I reread the name, it's like, oh yeah, the R's in a different spot.
Yep.
All right, definitely later on the show, remind me to kind of hint on Kerman Kart Club.
Sure.
Because that is the foundation of CCKRA, the roots, if you will.
Yeah, that basically is the club. We still are Kerman Kart Club, just DBA CCKRA right now. So all the same people.
All the same people. And then next up we have Eddie. I'm gonna butcher your name.
Borchi.
Yes. All right, Eddie Borchi. So why don't you give yourself an introduction here?
Like Scott, I'm a board member this year on the CCKRA. We've been part of the club. This is our 3rd year now. I got 2 boys that are racing, 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and a junior 206 class. So having a lot of fun.
Very cool. They race against each other?
Yeah, this year the little one moved up from kid kart to junior last season. Actually beat his brother in points by 1 position too.
So do you have any interesting rides home after the races?
Usually they fall asleep on the way home, honestly.
All right. So
that's good.
We'll come back to you also later in the show. Next up, we're going to have Kirk Marshall. Kirk, good evening.
How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So I've been involved in the club for about 8 years now. Had my did kid kart for a couple years, tried to move him up to junior 1. Wasn't really feeling it, but just loved the atmosphere. Started helping out, going to KTX with a couple kids. And then a couple years ago, started trackside engine, started building 206s, just like the 4 strokes, and got into them and really enjoyed it.
So all those boxes behind you are full, correct?
They are full.
They are full. So if you want to buy an engine, today's special price, $1,500.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll ship you the one in the upper right-hand corner right there.
That's the good one up there.
That's a good one. All right, Kirk, thanks for joining us. Next, we'll have Brian Iraqi. Brian, how are you doing this evening?
Good, Jason. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I mean, I get to run my mouth and talk and see myself on camera, so I'm doing great.
Oh, cool.
So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, most people know the Iraqi name because of my brother Glenn or my son Colby. I'm the shadow in the background. I try to stay low profile, but I've been a member of the club for a long time. Glenn and I started racing out at Kerman in the early 70s, and so we've been apart ever since. And my dad raced there. In fact, he raced the opening race in Kerman. It's dear to our hearts, and so we just keep trudging forward, helping out the club and helping out as much as we can to grow the sport in the valley.
Very cool. And you guys have been doing a good job with that. And thank you for joining us tonight.
You're welcome.
I remember one year that I showed up to Kerman and it was raining. And your brother just, to me, he was an old dude and he just kicked all of our asses.
I remember. I think I know the race.
Yeah, I think he lapped everyone up to like second or third. It was ridiculous.
And I think he'd been out of a kart for a few years and jumped in the 80 shifter or something.
Yeah, because he wasn't running the normal IKF circuit at the time.
Right.
At that time we were racing, he just showed up and cleaned our clocks. And then next up we have Kulber Mand. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us tonight, and give our listeners a little background on yourself.
Yeah, so I would consider myself one of the newer members of the club. This is my first year on the board, fourth year involved with this organized racing club. Race with my son. He's doing cadet racing, and then he's finally moving up this year to the cadet pilot class. And prior to that was kid karting. So excited to help the club out, and looking forward to another great year.
And just to repeat, how long have you been involved with karting?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. So you're kind of the new kid on the block.
I am.
Perfect.
It's exciting. Lots of hard work, but it's all worth it.
Very good. And then next up, we're going to have Jim McCormick. Jim, how are you doing this evening?
Good evening. Doing well. Thank you. My name is Jim McCormick, and I've been involved in the club now this will be starting our fourth year. My son Bryson, and started in kid karts. Took him, about 5 years ago, we went up to Atwater. We were just going by Atwater, and so he said, "Hey, they're go-kart racing. You want to go take a look?" And he goes, "Yeah, let's go look at it." So Scott Andreessen greeted us there. Never had met him before, and really nice. And so we looked at that, and on the way home, Bryson goes, "Hey, Dad, you think we might be able to do that?" I go, "Sure, if you like it, let's give it a try." So we're in our fourth year now, and we went from kid kart up to second year in cadet.
Very nice, and thanks for joining us tonight. And it's we have a full panel. And last but not least, let's bring up Ashley. Ashley, she's the one who's been helping me out with the live stream stuff. So why don't you tell us how you fit into Kerman Kart Club or CCKRA?
Okay. Some fun facts. CCKRA, when it was Kerman Kart Club, the original Kerman track was the only track I ever raced at, and I only raced kid karts. But Jason gives me a lot more credit than I actually need for it. I also was a Kerman Kart Club board member in, I want to say, 2012. So it was a while ago. So my family's been involved at this track for a very long time. The original track and the Fresno track, we have great memories on both. And I even have a little jar of the asphalt from the original Kerman Kart Club track. I don't have it tonight, but I do have it.
I could sell that on eBay, I bet. All right. So that's going to be our full panel for this evening. And here we all are in the same room. So thank you again for joining us. As everyone was doing their introductions, a lot of board members here tonight. I've never really been down this avenue on either my podcast or the live stream. You tell me who wants to go first, but stress the importance of getting involved with the local club or being a board member and maybe some of the stuff going on. Who wants to go first with that one?
Well, I can go. I probably have the longest history of us, anyways, as a board member. I'm the treasurer of the board, and I've been a board member for I don't know how many years. But it's important to me when I go around the pits and I talk to to dads or even the drivers and talk about, the help that's needed and to run these kind of programs, especially a program like we run where we're running a temporary track at one time every month of the season. And it just takes a lot of work. So, but I hear a lot, it's about the kids and it really is about the kids. And unfortunately for a lot of people, it's about their kid. And so we try to express the importance of it's about all the kids and the families that are out there. But it's important. These clubs don't run by themselves. It takes real people to do it. And we're fortunate to have a really, really good group of board members we have for many years and strong leaders. So all I can say is, when you look back and you look at tracks like Lodi or Atwater and Tulare and the tracks that we all lost, and we look back and say, man, I wish that track was still there because I really liked racing there. Well, if there's no board members or no club to run them, then there's not going to be a track, and we're going to be looking back and saying the same thing about all the tracks that are existing today. So that's kind of my take on it.
That's actually a very valid and sad point. When you say that, it's just like, oh yeah, I wish that was still there.
Yeah, and the Kerman Kart Club or CCKRA, we tried to go after the Atwater track and try to revive it and save it, but unfortunately, it was already pending sale. So there was nothing that we could really do about it. We had a pretty successful last year of it running there, but unfortunately, those kind of things happen too, where you just can't avoid the inevitable, like Kerman. The same thing happened there.
Yeah, who would like to speak next? Thank you, Brian, for the insight there.
I can.
Is that Jim?
Eddie.
Go ahead, Jim.
No, it's Eddie. Eddie's next.
Eddie.
Oh, Eddie, that was Eddie. Okay.
Yeah.
Jim's like, no, I don't want to talk.
No, I'll talk. It's Eddie's next.
No, yeah. I was just gonna say it's kind of new to me and not being part of the club for more than a few years. I've just got to kind of see how things go and like Brian was saying, it's important to have people, I think, that care, that want to move the club forward, and we see that in all the people that have been on the board the last few years that I've been here, and it's just kind of a privilege to be a part of this board because you are surrounded with a lot of good people, and we have a lot of really cool families in our club. So I mean, it makes it fun, and it's just a good thing to be a part of, I think.
Yeah, and then again, we'll segue off of the board thing, but you guys are doing some great stuff. A couple of weeks ago, you guys had a free Arrive and Drive program, and you hosted at the Fresno Fairgrounds. And who would like to speak to that on how successful that Arrive and Drive program was?
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about it since I was in the middle of it. So yeah, in the last year, a couple of members came to us, Glenn Iraqi and Thomas Futzel, like, hey, we got an idea. Let's instead of spending money on advertising in a magazine or radio or something like that, let's hold an Arrive and Drive event that's kind of free. And we're all kind of, okay, yeah, sounds like a great idea. So let's try and figure it out and organize it. Well, it kind of blew up. I mean, we ended up getting 400 or 500 emails on it, just in the span of a couple of weeks that it was advertised, and then the news media caught up on it. But it was really just, the idea was, let's get more exposure. Karting's always had that problem where, no matter where you are, you've got hundreds of thousands of millions of people surrounding you, but there's really not a lot of exposure other than word of mouth, telling your friends and family, and getting people to come that way. And every time you talk to somebody, like, oh, I had no idea we had a club, here. So it was sort of that, give people the opportunity to come out, hopefully get some of them interested. Hopefully kind of get the word of mouth spreading in some new areas, some new avenues of of media and things like that, and it worked out surprisingly well. So we were happy with the event. A lot of work, but yeah, it was a good event. It was a good day.
So why don't you talk about the different packages that were available for the Arrive and Drive?
Yeah, so we had a couple different tracks. It was at the fairgrounds, so temporary track set up with barriers and cones mainly. We had one small track that was set up for kid karters and some of the younger cadet kids or people that had no experience. And then we had a larger track that was set up for the bigger kids and adults. And there we had quite a few 206 senior karts, a couple junior karts. There was a K100 kart. And then Team Visalia came out and they had a couple shifters as well. And they actually got some people in some shifters, which was surprising and a little bit nerve-wracking. But no, they did a good job. They did a really good job.
Hey, new guy, go jump in a shifter.
Yeah, they did a little bit of qualifying, made sure that it wasn't just anyone jumping in. But yeah, I think there were 4 or 5 people that had never driven a shifter before that went out there, and some of them had just driven a kart for the first time out there. But maybe had some other racing experience. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and then so I'm gonna actually bring Kirk up real quick, but unless someone's gonna cut me off for a moment, and correct me if I'm wrong. Without PKS down there, there really isn't a walk-in shop, correct? For the CCKRA stuff.
Yeah, no, there isn't. Pretty much most of it's all, Glenn, I think, closed up shop a couple years ago. He still supports the track, and he is our main person at the track that has parts and stuff for the kids and tires. And he also runs a tenting service, which really does help those parents that are new into the sport that maybe don't have the time during the week to get their cars set up and maybe don't have the knowledge to set up the cars. I mean, to be honest with you, there's it's more technical than what you would think. And for a lot of people, it's scary to get into that. And so Glenn does a very good job and has for years and years and years getting those people kind of dialed in and getting them set up and supporting them from the ground up.
And that's pretty impressive to me that, is CCKRA, are you guys a nonprofit?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a nonprofit, and again, there is not a walk-in shop presence for karting, and you guys took it upon yourself. All right, let's get people in karts. Let's do this free Arrive and Drive thing. I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, one of the problems that I think all tracks have is the go-to places to go to the magazines or go to these other venues, and we've been trying to reach out to car shows and things like that. Ron Perry was a big advocate for trying to get out to carnival type events that are in the community or car shows to reach out to new people. But the problem is that you're still reaching out to the kind of the same crowd over and over again. And it's the people that know nothing about what you're doing are the ones that you really need to get educated, because like Scott was saying, there are people I walk up to every day that have no clue that there's racing going on at the fairgrounds. And, we've been doing it now since 2011 or so. And so this was a big deal to get out there and have the media out there and pay attention to this and bring new people into the sport potentially that are from your area. And that's probably more important than anything, is trying to build that base up.
Yeah, in prep for the show, I was looking for a couple of video clips, and the ones I just kept editing and finding the one. They did a good job broadcasting it, but I kept finding the one where it was just a 30-second clip of a couple of karts going around the track. It's like, oh man, it's like, okay, I wanted some news reporter or something, and there's got to be floating around out there somewhere.
Yeah, we had one of the reporters at the end of the day go out on the track, and she suited up and did a whole deal. But I don't know what happened there. She didn't want to show herself, but she edited herself right out of the whole story.
Oh,
but
really?
It would have been a neat deal to see her in the kart, as a participant.
Yeah,
or maybe it was an insurance deal.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we're not supposed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so would all of you agree that it was a pretty successful
Yep.
event you guys did?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
on the big track, from originally it was going to be like 1 to 3:30 or so, and we ended up going from like 9 to 4. But from probably about 10 o'clock, 10:30 till 4 o'clock, we had people going on the track every 4 minutes like clockwork. I mean,
Oh
it's like
wow. Okay.
yeah, it was busy.
Did you
So,
plan on doing another one anytime soon?
this was the first time thing, so we definitely got some things to talk about and learn about. We'd like to, absolutely. But like Brian was saying, it takes a lot of work to set up a temporary track. Takes a lot of work to pull something like that off. So we'll focus on the season coming up, and maybe somewhere in the middle we'll try and schedule another one. But we'd like to, just under the right conditions.
Yeah.
So,
When you do, please let me know. I mean,
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
I'd like to do what I can with my little show here to help promote it, because
Yeah.
I was very excited to hear how it was going to, how you executed it, how it took off, and
Yeah.
all of that good stuff.
Yeah, and Scott was at the kind of the staging, getting on and off the track with the juniors and seniors most of the day. And so I went over a couple of times and asked, "What's the reaction of those people coming out of the cart? What are they saying?" And they're just all smiles. They're just bragging about what a great deal it was. I heard a couple guys that went to they were at the Las Vegas Experience driving the exotic cars, and they said they'd much rather do this over and over again than drive the Ferraris and Lamborghinis.
Really?
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And and then on the kid car side, I was running over there, and Ron Perry was really running that whole deal, and Ron's pretty passionate about the little kids, educating them, and he had his hands full over there, of course, and probably more with nervous parents than anything. But it was just an extremely successful day, and I think Glenn saw a lot of interested people that are looking like they would like to get into the sport. So we figured if we drew 2, that would be successful. But
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have more than that.
But it's 2 more than that you didn't have.
Yeah, right. And their family and their friends.
Now, did you have anyone out there set up at like a swap meet or selling equipment or anything else like that? Or was the real focus just to put butts in the seat and then go from there?
Well, it all happened in 2 weeks. So we talked about a swap meet, or just kind of not a pay per go, but just people, if they wanted to come out and sell some things. Davis was having theirs at the same weekend. So we didn't really push it. We just, if people had some stuff, they put it out there.
Okay. Yeah, because that would be actually a pretty powerful karting tool for networking and exposure of karting, where it's this arrive and drive program, swap meet, reach out to more of the shops in the area where they have that opportunity to get in front of new people. Yeah.
Well, one of the other interesting things you run into a lot when you talk to the public about karting is the people that used to kart, and they talk about, my dad used to do this, or my grandpa used to do this, or I used to do this. And we had a couple members come out and bring vintage karts. And so that was huge, because these people that came out and used to race, that's what they used to race. So they were able to relate, to somebody and talk to somebody about, what we call the old days, which was, probably pre-'80s.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because last year I took my cart out to the local Cars and Coffee here in Galt, and I was just like, oh, we'll just see, I'll just throw it out there. And I was actually amazed with how many people, like you just said, oh, I used to race those as a kid, or my dad used to race those.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're in a small little town here, and the amount of people that said, oh, we used to do this, it's like, wow. And it really just kind of opened up karting again. It's like, man, we need to do more of these.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's. I'm glad it was. I'm glad it really worked out well for you guys. I'm kind of blushing over here. It's like, man, that's good to hear. Good to hear people promoting the sport of karting?
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't get any official numbers, but my best guess is we had at least 70, probably more like 80 people in carts
Okay.
today. So it was pretty good, and definitely had some. I know we've got a couple people that are planning on coming out to the first race in Buttonwillow to look into it more. So positive.
Well, let's go that direction. Let's talk about your schedule, 2022.
Yep.
Who do you want to do that for us, Scott, or one of the other guests?
Yeah, I guess if no one else is jumping at the bit to do it. Yeah, so for 2022, we're going to do a 7-race series with a drop. And last season we went to 3 tracks. We did Fresno, Santa Maria, and Buttonwillow. And this year we're going to add a 4th. We're going to try Willow Springs in March. So.
And that's going to be the standard Willow Springs kart track?
Yeah, the kart track. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. So it kind of, we went from the Kerman Kart Club to the Kerman track and then to the fairgrounds after the track closed down. And then, like we've been saying, setting up a temporary track's a lot of work, and especially in the hot months when you're on an asphalt tarmac and you're throwing plastic barriers into a metal sea container. It's hard to do that stuff in the hotter months. So then we kind of adopted Buttonwillow, and we've got a pretty good club base in between Visalia and Bakersfield in that area. So that was kind of a natural place to go. Plus it's the closest practice area after Atwater closed down. And then people started saying, "Hey, it's still really hot in Buttonwillow. Let's try Santa Maria." So we did that. We picked up Santa Maria, and I think that ended up being the same year that they held was it 2020? We had our first race there, Brian, at Santa Maria.
Yeah, I believe so. The year of the Nationals.
Yeah, so that was we ended up having the Nationals there. So that just kind of worked out. We ended up doing 2 races. So we didn't start out trying to be a travel club. It just sort of evolved because the fairgrounds, one, it's the fairgrounds. It's not always available. So we've got scheduling complications there, and then the temporary track, and then with COVID, they were using it as a vaccination facility. So we lost it for most of that year. So we just sort of we picked up and did what we could, and asked the members, "Hey, what do you guys want to do? Want to race? How do you feel about traveling? How do you feel about this track and that track?" And everyone was kind of on board, and it just sort of worked out that way. So we're that's what the membership wants to do, and then we're just kind of running with that flag and seeing what comes of it. So, but it's been fun. I know my kids, they like going to different tracks all the time. They like all the new tracks rather than run the same 1 or 2 over and over. But it's still that club mentality. We're still kind of trying to keep the contact out of it and all the harsh racing, and just have fun and enjoy the weekend. So
nice. Traveling 4 races this year, so that'll be exciting for you guys.
Yeah, a lot of work too. A lot of logistics behind the scenes, but as long as everyone's having fun.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, like Santa Maria is like always one of those places. It's when I used to work at Sweet Tech, we'd argue about, okay, well, who had to go to Santa Maria? And not because it was a bad area. It's just you can't fly there. For us, it's a 4.5-hour drive, to get there. So logistically for us, it was like, oh, man. But I've always enjoyed going down there. I mean, there's some great food places. A couple of times when my family and I, we turned it into a 3-day weekend, and we would just drive Highway 1 back home. And looking at your schedule here, it's, teams, or not the teams, but the drivers have to kind of travel a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They might be able to break it up and make it a nice little kind of a quick vacation as well.
Well, when you say that, we usually, this is Jim, usually we'll take two, sometimes even 3 days over at Santa Maria. We'll go over into Pismo and stay into Pismo for a couple days just to, it's nice on a Sunday. You're done with the race. You can go over there and take the trailer over there in one of the places and stay and just relax instead of the drive home. And next couple days, you can just kind of decompress a little bit. it is fun to do that out of the different tracks that we go to.
Yeah, because Pismo is what, only 30 minutes away from Santa Maria.
Yep.
Yeah.
Short drive.
Hey, Eddie, how do you approach those kind of weekends?
Kind of like what Jim's saying, kind of to follow up his idea. We kind of make it a camping weekend, and we'll RV to some of those farther out races, and we just have a good time with the family and other people and other families, and camp out at night if we're all at the track together. And then same thing, if we're out far and we don't have something to do that next day and don't have to hustle home, it's fine to stay at the coast and stay in that cool weather in the summertime.
Yeah, and again, I'm a food guy, so I like finding all the good food in the areas.
Yeah. No, it's nice to kind of break up a whole race weekend and make it a long weekend, like with your family.
Yeah. So, Kirk, we haven't heard from you in a few minutes.
Yeah.
When you hit those kind of events,
I mean, the big thing for us is typically I don't stay. I'm so busy with building engines in between and the interim. We're traveling a lot. I travel probably about 3 weekends a month during the summertime, doing KPX and CCKRA, and then there's also some dirt stuff we hit. I would love to stay extra days. I think the biggest thing that traveling has added to the club is historically me and our paramedic for our club for the last couple of years has been John Rangel, and I pretty much 100% of the time spend the night at the track, whether it be Fresno or Buttonwillow, and for the last probably 6 years, I just prefer to stay at the track. It's just easier in the morning. And what is added by going to Santa Maria is now like probably 2/3 of the entire club goes. So at nighttime, the kids are playing, they're having a good time. They're playing chase all over the night, all over the track, all night long. The parents are having a good time. We put a couple fires out, and it's just a good time. Just awesome to see everybody stay at the track and hang out. And it's added another element, and I think everybody's kind of gotten a lot closer because of it.
do you ever want to remind the parents how much money they'd save if they just bought used tires and had the kids come over and play football with a tire?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the tires are no good, man. They cost a lot of money if you want to be competitive. That's for sure. That's the only bad thing I think about asphalt karting is the tires.
Yeah. No, it's every time I've camped at the track, it's the kids, man. They can find anything to have fun with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it is kind of fun just to sit back and just watch them. It's like whether they're flipping a stupid water bottle, which I don't understand that at all. But yeah, when they're running, playing tag or playing football with the tire or whatever it is, or tug of war with the track dogs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's been awesome going to those other places. I'm sure we're gonna have the same experience at Willow Springs and stuff like that as well. It's been a good addition, and Marty brought that in, and praise to him, because I know that was a lot of work, something out of the box to bring him over there or bring our club over there, but it was a good addition to the club, I think. Plus, it also gives Santa Maria some time. That was a club that didn't really survive over the last couple of years, and they haven't had a lot of use other than SCUSA running over there. So having us go over there 2 times a year, it brought some of those kids that go practice there, but they don't have a club to really race in. So now guess what? Now they race with us in Fresno and Buttonwillow. Now they travel with us, and Santa Maria is just their home, their home track. So it's added some club members as well.
Yeah, I didn't realize Santa Maria was actually affected that hard during the COVID stuff, because it's always been one of those clubs that it's because of their location. They've kind of always been off the radar for NorCal, maybe a little bit off of the SoCal radar as well. And like you said, unless it's SCUSA, etc. So it's good to see that they're getting some more life back to that track, because it's a neat track. I mean, they have multiple different layouts and plenty of pit space. You could see the whole track from the pits if you want to watch it. So there's a lot of good stuff about that.
Yeah, it's a good momentum track, good 4-cycle track. It's also good for the kids too that don't get to travel to go to a high grip track like Fresno, and then actually get to go to a low grip track and learn how your setup changes dramatically. So it's added another element even to some of the club members to learn how to tune their cars and kind of change how they do things. It's been good all the way around, to be honest.
Now, are any of you tied in at all with the board over there at Santa Maria? And any talk about, like, curbs or anything like that getting fixed or repaired for 2022?
Not really tied in, but they did do some track repair before last season.
Okay.
Did some asphalt patching and some cleanup out there. Track's in really good shape. They're just because of the area. Sometimes it looks weedy, but it's really not, because that's just kind of beachy environment. But I love that track. I just the only thing that's really maybe needs some attention is their snack bar area, which I don't think they use at all anymore. So, which is unfortunate, because we always went there for the tri-tip sandwiches.
You went there for the tri-tip.
Yeah. Well, that's not why we went there, but we certainly had them when we were there.
Yeah, Santa Maria, right? Santa Maria tri-tip.
All right.
Yeah.
Santa Maria is always it's a fun track. It's challenging, but it's fun. My son likes it a lot. So, but going over there is good. Everybody's good over there, and it's been a great addition. I like it a lot personally.
Yeah, I've only driven it twice, and it was the first time I drove it was years ago, before they had that whole back section, the back straightaway and everything. And the last time I drove it was a couple of years ago with your guys' outfit, and it just, I personally just struggled with it, because I wasn't prepared with my equipment. But I just remember the flow of the track and, trying to figure out how to come on the straightaway as fast as possible. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was just, it was completely different than anything we have up here in NorCal. So it was nice.
Plus, we try and hit that track, summertime months. So the kids are usually out of school. So that makes, the travel a little bit easier. And, who wants to go racing in June and July and August in Fresno or Buttonwood?
Not me.
So it's a good break from the weather and from everything else. So it works out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the racing's not bad in Fresno in the summer months. It's putting that track away that's terrible.
Yeah. Scott gets to be the one that goes in the container, and it's about 140 degrees up.
Personal sauna.
Is that your summer weight loss plan? Hang out in the container?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the barriers have been sitting out in the sun for the whole weekend, so they're 100 degrees, and the container is 110 degrees. And you get up in the top. The first few layers aren't too bad. You get up in the top layer, and you're sitting in that oven. It gets pretty brutal. So.
Yeah, I only been to Fresno once.
Those barriers in the rain are brutal too, by the way.
Yeah, I remember that. Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, we didn't have our container or our barriers there, but we had to tear down in the rain once, and it's just brutal. And Fresno, I don't know. I'd much rather tear down in the rain than 110 degrees, but
yeah,
I'll take the rain.
It's kind of dangerous too, though, because things get slippery. But it's a fun time. So if any of the club members want to continue helping you, just don't ever go home before that's done. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who wants to talk about the Fresno? We're talking about temporary tracks, tearing it up, putting them, setting them up, tearing them down, working in the rain, working in the heat. But I think you guys, really need to stress the importance of Fresno and the temporary circuit, and using it as a training tool for the big Vegas races that we have in October and November at the end of each year. When I drove it, it reminded me of a shrunk down Vegas track.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun. So who would like to speak to that? Who has experience, kind of at both levels?
Well, I'll put my quick 2 cents in, but when new people show up to Fresno, and they go out on the track for the first time, and there's dust rolling down the track for the first 2 sessions, and they're coming in and they're changing gears, and they're narrowing their chassis, and their drivers complaining that it's too loose, and they're making all kinds of changes. I mean, you just got to settle them down a little bit, and don't change anything. Just get your kid to learn the way around the track, because it is a lot like a SCUSA event. Maybe not as extreme, because they clean the track real well before the weekend. We don't have that luxury, but that track will change immensely from the time they get on it the first time till about noon, and then when it starts taking on grip, it takes on a lot of grip, and it will blow the minds of the tuners for the first time.
Yeah. And then how often do you guys change the configuration for the Fresno track?
We've been running the same track pretty much for the last few years. We changed it a little bit up because there are some obstacles that we had to deal with. But the first several years that we raced there, we were racing on a different track every race, which that adds a whole nother complexity to setup, because you have to design the track around all these obstacles that are out there. And that's that was a challenge. So we decided to end up running what we call our national track, which is that track we ran at the nationals there. And it's very similar to that track, but so it makes it easier to set up.
Yeah, and that probably helps out with the local guys too, where they don't feel as much of a need, for practice time, etc., if the track is relatively the same, week in and week out.
Right. Gearing is pretty much the same no matter what we do, but the track's going to be different every time you get on it, no matter if it's the same configuration or not. And it's kind of neat, because sometimes a different person will head up to the main part of the setup, and it'll get set up their way, and it'll be a different track, even though it's the same shape.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those that are just tuning in, if you want to hit a temporary track, check out the Cckra guys. They do race at the Fresno Fairgrounds. And again, let's talk about the other tracks too. You got Santa Maria, Buttonwillow, Fresno, Willow Springs. So you guys are going to have a full schedule this year. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for those guys that are coming from the north, we really, really want to draw people from other areas. And that's one of the reasons that we went up to Outwater when they were still racing, and now heading down to Willow Springs and trying to take it, give Mike Manning's shop a little exposure and try to draw some of the guys over the hill, because we have a pretty strong program in a couple areas, and we'd like to let those guys compete against outside areas. But one thing that they can really be assured of, like NorCal guys, if they come race with us, and they could talk amongst themselves, people that ran with us, is our program runs on schedule, and we usually get you out of there by 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we don't let it drag. And if we're behind schedule, we'll make it up somewhere. And we're not cutting laps, but we're cutting breaks and things like that. So that's what I think what we're known for is our scheduling, and we put a schedule out there, and we'll run right by it.
Okay. Well, if we're talking about schedules, let's talk about let's talk about the classes you offer.
Scott?
Yeah, so the usual classes you see at most of the tracks. Kid kart, we had a pretty strong kid kart and kid kart novice class last year, and then we've got the junior 1 206. This year, the end of last year for our last race, we added a pilot class, because we were fortunate enough to have the problem of having a really big junior 1 206 class. We probably averaged 14 carts for the season, and when you've got we had a pack of the first 6 or so that were really strong, and then we had some kids that were just brand new. So rather than have them get run over, we had enough people we could actually split it up and still have 2 really good competitive classes. So we're starting our junior 1 pilot program, kind of similar to what Prairie City does, but we're going to separate them. So they're not going to run together. They'll have their chance to run separately with their own group, and then the regular cadets, the junior 1 class, will run by themselves as well. So, and then obviously the other 206 classes, junior 2, senior heavy, mini Swift, the KAs, and junior and senior KA. And then we've got a really strong shifter program with Team Visalia and all those guys. So we usually get a pretty good turnout of the 125s as well.
Yeah, the Team Visalia has done a hell of a job growing the shifter program out there. And I'm good friends with a lot of those guys. And for the past couple of years, I've really been trying to get them on the show so they can kind of talk about it. But I mean, all of you guys know Team Visalia. They're really not the type of guys to talk about themselves. They roll in with 10, 20 shifters, and they all pit together. They have a good time. And it's, I wish I could get them on more to really talk about what they're doing down there. Because it's such a cool environment.
Yeah, that's a fantastic group of guys. I mean, that's of all the classes, that's the class that we don't even have to worry about. They're all friends. They all know each other. They go out there. They have fun. There's no drama. It's Daryl Tunnel and Raymond Velasquez, and we've got guys coming up from San Diego, the Fernandezes. It's an awesome group of guys to talk with and watch out there and go and compete. So it's super fun, super great to have them at the club.
Yeah, I met those guys years ago through the SCUSA stuff and with Pro Kart and things like that, and it's been really neat to see the transition from, regional, national level racers. I mean, Team Visalia, they have more Supernats winners in their tent than pretty much almost any shop in the country. But you would never know that about them. I mean, they don't talk about it. But yeah, it's so I'm glad you talked about Team Visalia and how strong they roll in.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Daryl spends a lot of time out at Buttonwillow on Saturdays, just on open practice, and he'll introduce people into the sport, get them out there into a shifter kart, let them drive it, and then once they're in it, teach them how to drive it, teach them how to set it up, and these guys have just come so far. These guys that he's taught the sport. And it's just neat. He's got a whole team out of San Diego, and and when they all show up, you're looking at the grid, and you've got 6 national champions sitting there, and in the class, and it's just it's cool, just super cool.
Yeah, and then you go back to the pits, and they're all helping each other. It's like, the guy has a problem. Okay, what do we do? It's like, and I've heard that, Daryl's missed some of his racing because he's busy trying to help other people get on the track. And
that's right.
From my understanding, he just goes, I don't care. That guy needs to be on the track. I don't. Let's go. And we just need more Team Visalias everywhere in karting.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
But I think that's also a testament to what you guys are doing too, because you're attracting that type of environment. So you're making it where they want to be there as well, supporting you guys.
Yeah, it's got to be fun. It's got to be a fun weekend.
Yeah, that's racing, right? Or karting. It should be fun, at least at the local level.
Yeah.
Was it Bonner Moulton years ago? What was it? Kart Sport magazine? I think he had the karting pyramid or the karting triangle. Yeah. Where it's like, at the base, you have all your club racers and a lot of fun. And then the regional level, it's like you have a little bit less racers and not so much fun. At the top of the national, not very many at all and no fun.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always a visual that always stuck out in my head.
Also,
so is there anything else you guys want to cover tonight?
Well,
we're talking about Cckra. We talked about the tracks.
That new pilot program also involves a spec gear, goes from a blue slide to a green slide. So really trying to promote the kids transitioning out of kid kart, and giving them a good foundation before they actually move up. I mean, like Scott was saying, we're pretty fortunate to have such a big cadet class that we were able to split them up and kind of do kind of a slower 1-year class that they can kind of move up into the faster kids with a blue slide. So green slide, spec gear, one less thing for mom and dad to have to worry about is guessing the gears. Gives them a little more time to teach their kids and setting the car up from kid kart. And
then how do you determine if they're in the pilot program or the standard junior 1 program? What is going to be your approach for that?
I'll let Scott answer that.
So
there is some gray area there, but
yeah. So basically anyone who has I'll have to pull up the official rules, but first couple of years, new karters to the new cadet karters, people moving up from kid kart, people that are just coming into the class, or into karting in general. So it's going to be those kind of drivers, and the parents can kind of opt if they've driven the last year or two to put them back into the pilot class. And obviously, if the board sees someone's kind of taking advantage of it, we may, go pull them aside and talk to them about moving them up. But it's at the moment, it's just going to be parents' option. I mean, if you have a kid coming out of cadet class or coming out of the kid kart class, and you think that they can compete in the full class, hey, more power to you. There's plenty of kids that are moving up and they're successful because they've got the track time. But the parents that maybe can't get to the track in between races very often, or can't afford to throw money at tires all the time, they can move their kids into the pilot class and give them a chance to be competitive and a chance to learn without having to fight against these kids that are going to KPX on the regional races and being ultra competitive. So that it's pretty much just going to be to reread the rules for it, because we just started it this year. So
so did you run it at all in 2021, or
our very last race, our Central Cal Championship race, which was a non-points race in October in Willow, was the first time that we split the two classes up, or split the class into two.
Okay.
I think we had 8 or 9 of the junior, the full junior ones, and I think we had 5 or 6 still, at least, of the cadet pilot classes. So we still had pretty good fields on both sides. And with the kids that are moving up out of kid kart and the ones that are staying, it'll still be some pretty good sized fields. But yeah, it was successful. The pilot parents and kids had a lot of fun. Being able to set pole for their first time and lead a field down to the green flag was put some big smiles on some kids' faces. Put some more excitement in them. Give them a shot at actually competing and having fun like they were doing in kid karts, instead of their first year coming and you've got these kids that have been doing it for 2 or 3 years that are already at the top of their game with the cadet class that you're having to compete against. So it worked out pretty well. So we're going to keep rolling with it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't put enough emphasis or value on maturity levels at those younger ages.
Yeah.
And how just a year or two makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
In strength, maturity, everything. So no, it'll be neat to keep an eye on the that pilot program, see how it goes.
Jason, you bring a real good point there about the maturity level. When you get to junior one, you have basically from 8 years old to 12 years old. And the strength, maturity, racing experience, big difference there. And so having that 1 or 2 extra years where you can take them out of the kid kart, put them into the pilot where they get some more experience with the kids of their level, and the confidence, I think that it will also help with the kids. And then racing in their own class, not actually racing with the other junior ones, cadets. I feel it's a better program than what I've seen in some of the other clubs personally.
You're not biased at all, though, right?
Not at all.
Not at all. Yeah, and that'd be good to kind of, maybe midway through the year, we have another podcast and get together and, fill us in on how everything's going with CCKRA and the pilot program. And again, that's what this platform is for, to promote karting, grow karting, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. And then another thing, we're really going to enforce the no or very low contact in that class as well. Because when you go from even my kids struggle going from kid kart to up to the cadet karts, and so you get those experienced regional racers that aren't afraid of pushing each other a little bit here and there, and we do a pretty good job of mitigating that and not really putting up with that stuff anyways. But we really want to give those kids a safe environment to jump up at and enjoy that big step up, because it is. I know my daughter struggled with the first year, and she was in that same position, getting lapped, going from kid kart to cadet, and then next year she got more confident. She was middle of the pack, and then last year she's on the podium most of the time. So it's definitely good to keep those kids having fun, not get them discouraged, and just giving them a good class to compete in.
So hot topic, and you brought it. You said something that made me think about it. Contact. Pushback bumpers. Are you guys a pro or against pushback bumpers? Do you utilize the pushback bumper system for CCKRA, or how do you guys approach that?
We do not use the pushback bumpers for our club.
You do not use them.
No. And that controversial, right? Even at the national level. At the club level, I mean, you get most of your pushbacks are going to be by accident.
Yeah,
they're going to run into each other on the parade lap, and they're going to come in, and the things will be pushed back. So it just added more cost to the sport, added more officiating to the sport, and certainly more gray area calls. So we've been blessed that we don't have those kind of problems. The driving, guys crashing into each other and running each other off the track. It happens occasionally, but it's dealt with, and we try to deal with it and move on. But no, we haven't used them. And although my brother knows probably more about that arena than anybody, and he's certainly been a lot of help guiding us through some of these rules that they use at the national level.
Now, from an equipment standpoint, do you guys care if someone shows up with one?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was Scott's fault for bringing that one up.
Yeah, usually the problem is that the person in front of you backed into you, so
Right.
maybe we should put them on the back bumpers, right?
Yeah. Well, I really didn't pay much attention to it because being more of a shifter guy, we even when the pushback bumpers were coming through, up until last year, the shifters never adopted it.
Yeah.
So I didn't really pay attention to some of the racing that was going on and how the pushback bumper really affected different racing lines and everything else. And afterwards, like, oh, that's actually kind of interesting. It's like, don't put anything past a racer. I mean, it's like, if there's an advantage, they're going to figure it out. And whether it means completely changing your driver line because they know you can't get past if someone touches you. Yeah, so I'm actually glad to hear you guys don't have them.
Oh, good. And I don't know if there's other clubs that are trying to run those, or if there's other series in California that are. I don't even know if they're doing it in LA. So, but like I said, for the club level, it just didn't seem practical.
Yeah, we mentioned KPX earlier. KPX, they started using it. SCUSA, they were using it, and then they got away from it for a race, and now they're bringing it back. I have kind of been off the pulse of national stuff for a little bit, so I haven't been following it. But again, it's just kind of interesting how the policing techniques keep changing. And it's even good to hear you guys don't really have that problem where it's you feel like no, it's not even an issue.
Yeah, and it's you get like our senior guys, they run against each other a lot, and they'll rub on each other and push each other around, and they have learned to drive with each other. Probably the biggest problem is when you are a new driver and you end up in a KPX race or something, and you're racing around people that you're unfamiliar with. That's when a lot of the problems have really occurred that we've seen. Because when we used to host them, that's when we probably saw most of our problems. It's not because of KPX drivers. It's because you have our club members who have never raced with these guys racing now with people they've never raced with, and they're not used to it. And that's the case with any kind of series that you run. It's just you get comfortable around the people you race with. And,
that's very true. And then you know how to race it.
You know how to race them. Yeah. And shifters completely understand because they're going so fast, they're really not running into each other like that. And if they do, it's usually is a big mistake that happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. I mean, man, we covered a lot of stuff tonight. The free arrive and drive, pushback bumpers, the 4 tracks you guys are hitting. It's why don't we do kind of like a round robin of wrapping up the show? And then what we'll do is I'll just bring one of you on at a time. You close out the show however you want to. If you want to plug a business, if you want to plug, somebody helping out the track or CCKRA, and then as we goes through, stay online. And then when we end I'll end the broadcast and we can chat afterwards as well. So who would like to go first?
I'll go. I'll start it off.
Scott's going to start it off.
So, I mean, obviously, as president, I have to first and foremost thank, the club members and the board. I couldn't do it by myself. Wouldn't want to try. So, we've got a great set of people that come and help us out. I think we had, at least 12 or 13 people at the arrive and drive, plus all the kids were having fun helping out. So that's my big plug is to thank the club members again, and the board members especially for getting us through another season. So it looks like it's starting off well, and looks like it's gonna be another good one.
And if you see people setting up the track or tearing it down, give them a hand.
Yeah, please jump in. Every person we add to that group, it cuts down. We've gotten pretty efficient at tearing that track down. It takes about 4 hours to set up or so, 4 maybe 5 hours, and we can usually have it torn down in a couple. So every person that jumps in cuts that time down. So please, give us 5-10 minutes and help us out if you can.
Perfect. Who wanted the Scott? Thank you for joining us tonight and stick with us for a little bit longer. Who'd like to go next?
I'll go. Eddie.
Eddie. Okay.
Just want to kind of same thing. Thank the club. It's been a great club to be a part of. We've had a lot of fun, and it's real family oriented, which is fun to see also, with all different age kids and fun having the kids and camping out like a lot of us do at most of the races. We've had a good time. Just want to thank everyone for the help that they've done and give a shout out to PKS and the whole Iraqi family. We pit with them. This whole karting's all new to me as of 3.5 years ago. So we're learning a lot, and our boys are having a good time. So I just want to thank them.
Eddie, thank you for joining us tonight. And thanks for plugging PKS and giving Glenn a shout out there. And who would like to go next?
I'll go ahead and jump in. This is Jim.
All right.
I'm with Eddie on this. It's we came in as a family and something to do as a family, and father and son to be able to go have something in common and go do. And it's so great when we go to the track. The kids are all playing. At nighttime they're playing. It's very family oriented. It's a great environment for the kids. I mean, where else can you go? Button Willow, and when it's dark, you can turn your kids loose and they can go run and hide behind a hill and chase each other around and chase all around the trailers. So it's a great environment. I want to thank Kurt. Trackside, he's helped us a lot. So without Kurt, we probably wouldn't be where we're at. And Glenn also. Glenn helped me initially when I first came in. Getting me a cart and so on. So and I think that's the biggest thing, is helping each other in the club to answer their questions, show them something so that they don't get disenchanted with karting, and it keeps them motivated to keep going. And I think that's something our club does well.
Nice. And that's the point of club racing, right? That community, helping each other out, learning how, karting from different levels and different angles. And thank you. Thank you, Jim, for joining us tonight. And who would Brian or Kirk? Who would like to go next?
I can go. This Kirk.
There we go.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to thank CCKRA. I mean, I've been a part of it for about 8 years, and it's been an enjoyment. I mean, even though my kid isn't officially racing in it anymore, he still comes out and hangs out with the kids, and the environment out at the track is by none the best environment. We invite all the guys from Northern California and even Southern California to come up and visit us and come race with us. We do one of the better programs in California in terms of just having a great experience for all the kids to learn and enjoy. And then also thank you, Jason, for having us. Appreciate it, man. Good to have somebody to get us out there and kind of get us known so we can keep the sport going.
That's the platform of NorCal Karters. Just, promote the sport. Kirk, thank you for joining us. And I don't think I heard you say it, but plug your company.
My company's Trackside Engines.
Trackside Engines.
That's it.
You're a 4-stroke specialist.
For the Hondas and the Briggs.
For Honda and Briggs, okay. And where are you based out of?
We're based out of Visalia, California. A little bit south of Fresno.
I thought that was a shifter town.
It is. Actually, I know the Team Visalia guys. They all live fairly close to me.
All right, Kirk, thanks for joining us tonight. And
Yep.
last but not least, we're going to have Brian Iraqi.
Hey, and thanks, Jason, Ashley, and NorCal Karters for having us on here. And you want to reiterate everyone else. Thanks to the club and the board members and the past board members and everybody that's helped out. It's like I look at it and I look like we're doing something right, because when I go out and I talk to people at the track and you see families like Scott Andresen's family where, it's multi-generations, or, it was Ashley's family for a long time, the Whites out there. And when you see multi-generations out at the track, all just having fun and using that environment to be to spend time with their family, it's just a great feeling. And, we got to enjoy it as a family, when Dad was around, and it meant a lot. I tell people that are trying to get into sports or looking for something to do, it's one of the only sports that you get to be a part of your kids' activities, forever. And you can't sit in the dugout with your kid when they're playing baseball and tell them how to swing the bat. They don't let you do that, but they let you change the tires and gear on the go-kart. But it's just an enjoyable sport, and I've enjoyed it from SoCal all the way to NorCal and around the country, and kind of seen a lot of it. Jason, you kind of mentioned Team Visalia, how they started out at their little grassroots kart deal and went to the regional, national level, and now they're back to club level. That's kind of what our family did, and so I really enjoy CCKRA and what they're doing and growing the club, and I think I think we're going to grow it some more, and I don't think we're going to become the biggest club in the world, but we're certainly one of the most enjoyable to be around, I think. So,
Brian, thank you for those closing thoughts. Stick with us. And then Ashley, your turn.
Hey, NorCal. All right. So I am booking out in February for NorCal Mechanics for our next show. If you know anybody, tag them in the comments, message us, let us know. Great show, everyone. CCKRA rocks.
Beat you
Peace,
to it.
NorCal. All right.
All right, and that's our show for tonight. And I didn't mention it earlier. Let's see here. Give me 1 second here. The CCKRA website is cckra.com. That stands for Central California Kart Racing Association. So if you're listening to the show, you're watching it, and you're wondering, how do I get involved? And you're in that Central California region, go check out their website. Even if you're not from that region, check it out. They have a learning resources tabs. They have the race schedule. They actually have one of the better karting sites out there as far as information. Videos, driving lines, what the flags mean. So go check out their website, again, cckra.com. And I want to thank everybody that joined us tonight. I just love doing this stuff. And So yeah, thank you. Check out norcalkarters.com. Right now we're building our calendars out. So a lot of clubs are presenting their calendars. Tonight we went over the CCKRA calendar. Again, they're hitting 4 tracks this year: Buttonwillow, Santa Maria, Willow Springs, and Fresno. So keep an eye on norcalkarters.com as we put more in schedules up. And closing thoughts. Just remember, if all of us get one person involved in karting this year, just one person, we'll double by next year. Same time next year, we would have doubled. So go check us out, norcalkarters.com. Thank you to everyone from CCKRA, and we'll see you next week. And next week, we're going to have Northern Nevada Kart Club on. So tune in every Monday, right around 7:30.